I have declared this a Golden Ox production!
Well, hey there, everyone. It's time for another episode of Network Special, the podcast where we talk about the bygone era of appointment television, where if you missed it, you missed it. But now, thanks to the magic of God's greatest gift, the internet, you can watch these things again and again. And today we're going to be talking about a show that definitely was only meant to be seen once, but now, thanks to the internet, me and my co-host can enter this gaping maw of Satan as many times as we want.
Look at that, boy. Boy, there's sure a lot of action going on in there.
Yeah, lots of action.
Oh.
And I'm going to close them down if they ain't abiding by Hazard County Municipal Law 401, Section 87.
That's right. We get good. Which law is that?
Well, that's the law that says I got to get 50% of that action.
We watched the CBS Saturday morning preview special from 1983, where it aired on September 14th. My name is Zachariah, and I'm here with my beautiful co-host.
Oh, thank you, Nathan.
And then in the other room, kept where no man can see his face, is our producer.
Jeremy Demery.
That's right.
Nice.
He's a ghost and a goat.
The haunted studio.
Boy, oh boy, this is our 20th episode, and our very first episode was talking about a Saturday morning preview show, which is where when Saturday morning ruled and reigned children's entertainment for network television, they would choose a special night of the year and show you tiny clips from whatever new things they had in the lineup, and they would drag some guest stars in who I guess owed the station of favor, and
they had big tax bills to pay.
Yeah, or they just had gambling debts, and they would preview these things for children. And the scripts for them are ordeals that were definitely written in an afternoon. And even though they were really clumsy, really low quality, I got so psyched to see these as a kid. Like, can you imagine we're going to see a sneak preview of the next season's lineup? I imagine that you probably got as amped as I did to see these things.
So my favorite thing in the world is whenever it was when I was a kid, whenever cartoons would kind of, their universes would kind of touch, sort of like Wacky Races, where all the different cartoons would get together and do something. Like, this is how I view these. Like, there's a thread between all of these things, and I loved all of it happening in one place.
This was your Marvel Extended Universe, or as you put it, when the worlds would touch.
Yeah, just the tips.
Yes, the tips of their little franchises gently nuzzling against each other. Their little nubs massaging each other tenderly. Oh, what was that noise that just came across my headphones? Did you hear that, Nathan?
Oh, it might have been my Apple Watch. Let me...
Does the Apple Watch sound like it's directly in my head? Like an angel with a harp is playing away? Did you not hear it?
No. I didn't hear... All I heard was a ding, the old bell.
Well, yes, that is what I meant.
I didn't hear it in the way that you did.
How do you know?
I guess that's a great question.
Yeah, man.
That's a great question.
Dude, never mind me. I'm pretty baked right now.
Oh.
That's,
Wait
yeah.
a second.
No.
Wait a second. I cannot wait for later.
A little
rubbing my hands.
All right. Well, we need a tortured narrative to get us through all of these shows. And you notice I am just barreling along with this introduction. It's because we have a lot of great shows to talk about, or at least we have a lot of shows to talk about.
That's true.
But before we get to the show, this is one of my favorite conceits for getting us into the world of previews, because we start off in the middle. Speaking of worlds touching, we start off and we are in the middle of Hazard County, where the Dukes of Hazzard live.
Oh boy!
And then we go to Hazard County's newest dance club, run by Scott Baio.
So picture the Duke boys, and the bell, what was her name? Marianne? No, that's Gilligan.
Daisy Duke.
Daisy Duke, yeah, the thing that is so famously named after her.
Her name was Crop Top.
The Duke boys, the sheriff and and then right smack dab in the middle of this rebel flag, deserty swamp is a Studio 54 style disco.
Right. We see like a holler, we see a sty, we see dirt roads, and then we see Scott's Place, which is a dance club. And how do you know that Scott Baio owns it? Well, because there's a giant photograph of Scott Baio above the door.
Yeah, and he, let me tell you, he owns this place.
Oh boy, does he. Go on.
And who do we first see of the bunch of all the people? Like, do we see?
I suppose that's true. The first person we meet is a puppet. There's a cowboy puppet, and it's a big lumpy puppet made by Sid and Marty Kroft, who did H.R. Puff and stuff and a bunch of other shows. Yeah. This is really an era where I understand why like churches and libraries and places like that would start their own puppet groups, because it just looks like a puppet that your mom would make. This is not a slick puppet. It's just like, it's lumpy, like the cotton is too
It's like a pillow.
thick. Yeah, it's a pillow that your mom has stitched a face into and put a hat on. But this is a puppet. Okay. Oh, yeah?
I was just going to say, well, okay, yeah. Continue. We'll
Okay, thank you. If I can resume. I was wondering, did they build this puppet just for this special? They did not. This is a character named Truck Shackley, and he, of course, was from the show Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell Sisters.
That's the name of the show?
That was the name of the show.
Okay.
Barbara Mandrell, who I know...
Self-titled.
I know almost nothing about country music. It's really pathetic, but Barbara Mandrell was a very, very popular country musician who also had two very hot sisters, and I'm guessing that somebody from the Kroft said, "Oh, wow, your family's really hot. Do you want a show?" So it's her and her two sisters, and occasionally Truck Shackley and the Texas Critters, his band, would perform a novelty song on their show.
Does he call himself Truck Shackley in this?
I don't believe so, because I could not. I was waiting for him to say his name, and I couldn't find it.
I don't understand why they didn't use the narrator from Dukes of Hazzard. That
he probably said, "No, thank you." The guy, is it Waylon Jennings? Somebody is screaming at me.
The guy who's in the the overalls. He's like the.
I know who you mean, and he does not appear in the cartoon either. Like
the character does. I don't know if
Waylon Jennings.
I don't know if he does the voice on the cartoon, but he does appear. The character is in it.
He does not appear. He does not appear in this, nor in the cartoon that we will get to.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
Okay. Oh no. Let me clear this up.
Yes.
Are you saying that the character from the Dukes of Hazzard is not in this show, or are you saying that he just doesn't do the voice of the character in the show?
Waylon Jennings, the actor/singer, is neither in the cartoon, The Dukes of Hazzard, and he is not in this special.
Right. Okay. But the character that he would be playing in the Dukes of Hazzard, the live action show.
Are you asking if he's in the show he's in?
Hold on a second.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on here.
Are you asking if Waylon Jennings is in the show, The Dukes of Hazzard?
Is Waylon Jennings in the live Dukes of Hazzard? The live action Dukes of Hazzard?
Yes, he is.
All right. The character that he plays in that show is in the cartoon as well.
He's portrayed in the cartoon, but he's
Yes.
not, the actor is not the same person.
That's what I was trying to clear up from the beginning.
God.
Why was that so hard?
Oh my God. So it's Scott's Place. Two people who are in the show and in the cartoon that we haven't talked about yet, and in this special, are Boss Hogg and Poopadoop, Rosco Coletrane.
Rosco P. Coltrane.
Oh God.
Okay.
Yes.
How come I never when I used to watch the Dukes of Hazzard, and how come I never thought, what the hell is going on? Why is this guy a thing?
I don't know. I could never take the Dukes of Hazzard, and seeing it now is just like, oh, it was a children's show. Like they're acting like a British comedy of manners. Like they're acting like characters from Are You Being Served? If Are You Being Served was in the South,
Or like Hee Haw, right? Like a Hee Haw kind of.
well, yes,
sitcom,
or like
basically.
they're doing jokes in the Hee Haw cornfield at all times. Because you see, Scott's Place, which he has opened in the middle of Hazzard County,
Nowhere.
it's in Hazzard County. You know, it's home of the Duke boys.
The biggest county this side of New York City.
And there, of course, like in any club, there is a window, the style that you might have in a suburban home that slides up with ivy all around it. And Boss Hogg and Sheriff Coletrane are looking through the window and going, "Oh, what's going on in there? We gonna go see what in there. They're doing all not gonna get that money."
Yeah, so the idea is that they're trying to figure out what's happening in this dance studio, and can the sheriff somehow make money on this?
Boss
thing?
Hogg wants to make money off of this club, as that is his only character trait.
And Rosco is trying to figure out exactly what is happening in the club. Like, honestly, I think they're as confused as we are about why Scott's Place was opened in Hazzard County.
And then Scott Baio comes out to act as our host. Is Scott Baio the worst actor, least charismatic actor of all time? Just that dead-eyed stare. I mean, I'm sure he was on some substances at this time, but he comes out and he's just like, "Oh, hey, yeah, it's me, Scott. Okay. Oh, brother, we got a lot of cartoons." I know I'm doing the "say hi to your mom for me" impression of Mark Wahlberg, but it also sounds like Scott Baio at this time.
He's like, "Hey, I'm Scott. What's up with you guys? Hey, gays, you guys." Like, he is like, he is totally the, like, the truth is, like, I knew people like this who in Cleveland. Like, when I was
You
a kid,
did?
yes, who were like, you know, mullet, like sleeveless shirts, like driving like IROC Z's. I don't know. IROC Z's, is that the name of the car? You know, just like, hey, and the people in Cleveland always have this kind of fake New York, Chicago accent or whatever, but it's like, "Hey, what's up, you guys? Hey, what's good?"
Wait, where did you grow up?
Here.
You experienced
I grew
a
up on
very
the mean
different
streets
Cleveland.
of Cleveland.
Oh, God. Okay. Well,
No, I
here's
Go on.
where I will ask this. Were people running up to those people and saying, "Hey, please, do you want a television contract?"
well, that's what I mean.
You
like,
have it.
So, what happened? Where along the line does he become? Like, okay, like I get being a kid star because maybe he was maybe he was a good actor or something, and so he can get these roles. He was in that like Bugsy as a as
That
a kid,
was his
right?
first role, was Bugsy Malone,
Right.
where he plays, and he's fine, but he's just doing nothing incredible.
Right, well, because it's probably because he's able to do a New York accent.
Yeah, he's a cute little kid
Right.
who can do an accent and wear a hat. Yeah.
So why does his career continue to keep going?
He gets on Happy Days and apparently just becomes a teen dream, because the year that this is coming out, 1983, Scott Baio, Zapped has just come out.
Yep.
The sexual harassment comedy Zapped, where he and Willie Ames of future Charles in Charge co-starring roles, molest other students and their teachers with psychic powers.
Yeah.
He was starring in Jody Loves Chachi. He was still in Happy Days occasionally. He had just released his second album.
That's right. So I didn't know he had an album, although I guess I could have assumed like every 80s TV star had an album.
Sure, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so this guy is in everything right now. King of all media.
I think you've justified it for me because I was looking for Charles in Charge to happen and it hasn't happened yet. So I was thinking, what the heck has he been in? I'm like, Zap, like he's coming off of this like sex romp. Like and so they're like, hey, let's get him on this Saturday morning show. But you're right, he's on all of these other shows that are family oriented.
And Happy Days by that point is just pure preschooler entertainment. Like I think the fonts would just come out and jingle keys in front of the camera at that point.
Hey,
eat your vegetables. And pretty quickly, we are thrown into the world of seeing the cartoon previews because, of course, like any other dance club, teens can go there, listen to music, meet each other, have a good time, and watch previews of next season's television programs.
And what?
To which he says, "We're gonna watch what's coming up on CBS. Do I take good care of you guys or what?" And then the TV. Whoever's in the booth is pressing the applause button.
I'm telling you, this guy, he runs a deli. Like, that's who he is in his life. Like, he's just, hey, you guys want some Donkey Kong? You want some Donkey Kong on your sandwich?
Did you happen to notice now, of course, we're watching the only copy I've ever found of this, which is a really grainy VHS copy. So it's hard to make out details. But he has the thinnest gold necklace on that looks like it's made of a necklace the size of gold atoms. And they will just occasionally glint on his neck, but you can never see the whole necklace.
Nice little thin chain.
So
do we just launch into what do we? Do you think? Let me ask you.
Nathan, help!
Oh no!
Nathan!
Oh no!
Oh, thank God, I'm back. Okay. So the first thing we watch is part of a block of programming based on mostly Nintendo franchises from video games, and it was called Saturday Supercade. And Saturday,
yes. Mostly saying there was only 2 Nintendo franchises on this. The rest were like I don't know, Activision or something. Whoever else made these other ones.
Well,
I'm the Nintendo expert.
Yeah, you got me dead to rights. So this was supposed to be as though you were walking into an arcade of cartoons, and there was
a supercade, you might say.
I might say everyone was talking about supercades in 1983. Now, in 1982, the ET game had just come out on Atari and was just about to tank the video game world. So this must have been a real last-ditch effort on CBS's part, because ABC had the Pac-Man cartoon in 82.
Okay. Or they had already committed.
Oh, I think a little bit of both. I think they were like, we got to get this video game thing. It's hot, hot, hot. And then it immediately went down the toilet the next Christmas season.
Although, if they're doing Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., Nintendo is the reason why video games came back. So maybe this is all happening. Maybe this is the upswing.
I didn't think the upswing really came until Nintendo launched the NES system.
But I think that was like, well, maybe that was 85. Let me see.
I think we're at the tail end of Atari.
Yeah, maybe.
Because these are very Atari-ish titles we're about to get into while you research that. Because the first thing we're going to talk about is the cartoon of Donkey Kong. And speaking of Nintendo, the supporting role is a little plumber who is not. I guess he's already Italian, but he's not ethnically broad Italian. He has a subtle performance.
He's not Captain Lou Albano Italian.
No, but he is voiced by Peter Cullen, who does the voice of Optimus Prime in Transformers, just doing his everyday guy voice.
Everyday guy.
And
1985, by the way, on the Nintendo.
Okay, so we're
well past
a couple years away.
You're right. Yeah.
And Donkey
Did
Kong.
we say, by the way, that this is actually called Saturday Supercade? Have we said that?
I think that's the first thing I said. Way back when we were talking about.
Sorry, everyone.
This was after we were asking about if Waylon Jennings was in Dukes of Hazzard, but before
for 20 minutes
we talked about Peter Cullen and Lou Albano.
Gotcha.
But who is playing Donkey Kong? Why, it's Soupy Sales. Who's Soupy Sales? He was a comic in the 1950s and 60s, and he was part of that generation of comedians that I call unpleasant-looking men who are definitely alcoholics. He was in that kind of Rat Pack group with Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, and he just, one of those sweaty, walnut-faced men who yelled and mugged at the camera and made a career out of it. I'm sorry if Super Sales children listen to this. Sally Sales, Stevie Sales,
Mr. Sorry.
No disrespect.
Sales Jr.
And they really make a big deal about Soupy Sales being Donkey Kong, which is funny because all Donkey Kong does is go, oh, Donkey Kong, oh. What an afternoon for Soupy Sales.
Like most afternoons, I think.
How would you describe this cartoon's appearance, Nathan?
Well, it looks like the side of, like the artwork on the side of an 80s arcade cabinet come to life in your nightmares.
Yeah, if there was no sense of like drama or perspective in that painting, I would definitely agree. This looks like, to me, it was if you watched a no-budget movie and the kids are watching a cartoon. This looks like generic cartoon, which is a man like running in place while the background whips around behind him, and then an ape lifts something up and down over their head.
It's like when you go to the store and you're like, "Oh, Beauty and Beast on the VHS," and then you bring it home, and it's like some like Japanese version of it, where it's just like, like,
oh, it's Woot Disney's.
Yeah, it's just, you can tell, and they've got it packaged with like 50 other cartoons, so the quality is just jammed into this thing.
We have Donkey. Is there anything else you want to say? I don't have a lot to say about these Saturday Supercades.
Okay, so the question I have is, I guess when you look back, like, is the story that they're in Mississippi? Why? Okay, one thing that I've noticed in every one of these shows, including there is a Southern gentleman villain in like every single one of them.
Yes.
And they have in this one they're in Mississippi, so it's some guy who's trying to steal Kong. Like it's so, these cartoons are so hard to follow. If you blink, you will miss the plot point that describes the rest of the show, and they will not point back to that plot point to remind you. So these shows are just, they are thin.
You're right, because the one plot point will be like, I own a huge emerald, and then the rest of the cartoon is just Donkey Kong jumping up and down.
Yeah, it is. It's like, yeah, you're like, and then the emerald appears, and you're like, what? Why did they get here? How did they get here? And it's because you blinked and you missed that they had fallen into a time machine, or something. And it's like they never reference it ever again. And you're like, oh, yeah. The way I describe these is, they're like British cartoons, like from that era, like Banana Man and Danger Mouse and stuff, where they're just so light on artistry.
I think the reason you're right. These are also there is a southern bent to almost every one of these cartoons. And I think it's because you had Smokey and the Bandit, you had Dukes of Hazzard, you had trucker culture was huge, like CB radio and that whole thing. So yes, there's always a southern plot point. Late 70s, early 80s. Who else do we meet in the Supercade? We go into the world of Pitfall, the video game about like Indiana Jones light. You're jumping around in a jungle and you're looking for treasure. And that is translated into a man in a safari outfit named Harry Pitfall.
Yeah.
And his niece Rhonda.
just take the name of the game and give him a name.
It's Jeremy Tetris.
Yeah. No, it would probably be like Andre or something.
And then
Alexi.
Every single one of these cartoons was developed by the two men who did the concept for Scooby-Doo. This is co-produced with Hanna-Barbera, and they were the creators of all these cartoons, which means every one of these cartoons has to have a cowardly character as the comic relief. And in Pitfall, there is Quick Claw the Mountain Lion, who has a eye patch on. He is voiced by Kenneth Mars, who was like the German guy in The Producers, the Mel Brooks movie. So he's a comic actor. But he's doing a voice of Harry. It's me, a gay-coded coward. So Harry. If you think what I was just doing was hysterical, you're going to laugh your way to the the hospital with Pitfall.
My question with that character is he ruins everything, and he does not help in any way, and yet they force him to come every time.
You are basically me at 5 years old being furious watching cartoons because I hated the character that messed everything up, who did not need to be there.
Is that how you felt about your mother?
That's whenever I would say, I'm glad I'm an only child.
I'm glad my mother died 10 years ago. And you're like, your mom's sitting right there. Can we go back? Can we go back a little bit into the club and talk about...
Can we? I insist.
So, all of these dancers, how many of these dancers do you think that Scott Baio harassed?
I bet he definitely harassed the Valley Girl actor who Rosco goes up to and goes, what's going on here? And she goes, oh, like the B-52s. They're like, what's going on? It's a 32-year-old actress. And yes. If you've never seen the Dukes of Hazzard, what Nathan is doing is literally what this character does every other line. He can never believe what people are saying.
It is insane. Do you think he was a big, was Scott Baio like full on Republican mode, or was he just tough guy who cares?
Well, I bet you. Here's my guess on Scott Baio. I bet you Scott Baio did not become very politically active until later in his life.
Okay.
And then he found out what side of the bread the butter was on for his career.
Yeah. 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 And these, by the way, the theme songs for all these shows, I'm so into this genre of music, which is, I don't know. I don't understand why there isn't some sort of revival or someone who's trying to create music that sounds like 80s theme songs. Is there that you know of?
Well, I mean, we've had this conversation off mic asking like,
finally it's being recorded.
Are there people out there just making songs that sound like Denver the Last Dinosaur, but they're serious songs.
Right. Like they're just, I mean, they don't have to be like about fake TV shows. They can be songs.
No, I don't want
like
them
a
to be.
normal. Yeah, I know. Like a normal song, just about whatever. And it is in that theme. Someone has to do that.
Well, Jeremy's a
it won't be
musician.
me.
Jeremy, can you get going on that?
I'm on it.
Nice.
Great. I'm glad we have that moment recorded in history.
So next, Donkey Kong Jr., the son of Donkey Kong. Now, I don't understand how these shows why they aren't connected more. Why aren't these universes connected more?
Why aren't the nubs of all these shows touching? Is that what you're asking?
No, yeah. Why isn't the Donkey Kong show? Why isn't Donkey Kong Jr. like why wouldn't it just be like an alternate side story that's happening at the same time? It's weird.
It is. Because in the beginning, for some reason that is never explained, one thing a lot of these cartoons that we talk about today have in common is that they will, in the intro, give the entire backstory about why you should care about these characters that are on an adventure. And they will throw all the plot points at you in 10 seconds and never talk about it again. There's no introductory episode. You were just along for the ride. So in those 10 seconds for Donkey Kong Jr., we see Jr. looking at a headshot of his father, Donkey Kong, which his father has signed, like how your dad does for you.
Absent father.
Yes, Donkey Kong Jr. sheds a big tear, and he's like, I'm going to go look for my dad. Unlike Donkey Kong, Jr. can talk in a annoying, lispy voice. Voiced by Frank Welker, the man who voices everything. Then a 50s greaser comes up to him, says, I'll help you find your dad. Junior goes, oh, that's great. Gets in the sidecar, and they're off to the races looking for Donkey Kong, who has abandoned his son, been stolen, unclear.
These shows, the pilot episode is actually the theme song.
Yes, absolutely.
For every one of these. So one of the things that happens in the show, by the way, this kind of, I feel like, has weird morals, this episode. So they're trying, for some reason, they're trying to advance to some next level of finding his dad. And in the midst of it, they have to save someone who's being stolen in a truck. It's so hard to know why. I can't remember why.
The motorcycle has broken down. Junior meets a little girl who is the daughter of the guy working on the motorcycle. She says, my dad is the bestest at fixing things. Then, now here's where I'm vague. Some vagrants kidnap the dad and throw him in a truck and drive off with him, and then Junior, the daughter, and the greaser take off to get the dad back.
And so these are truckers. These are like bad trucker guys. Or like a motorcycle gang or something. I don't even know. So what I don't understand is, so one of the ways that they get this back is they steal someone's truck. That's just like, it's not even someone who's like part of it, I don't think. They just steal a truck.
Okay.
And they all come chasing them. Then like they like murder the guys. They
murder the guys?
They like basically like somehow they like don't they like throw them over a cliff or something? It's like
I don't
crazy.
remember that. Yeah, Junior says, the ends justify the means. And he bashes their heads against rocks.
But he doesn't even say, like, oh, we're going to take this truck back. And you don't see it. Like, no, they steal the truck and then they, like, run it over these guys or something. There's something happens. It's my note is here. But this show is dumb, too. They're all dumb. This is dumb.
Yeah, I don't want to get ahead of my review of Saturday Supercade, but this is bad. Did we also mention that all these shows are painfully ugly to watch?
Yes, like we said, they're all they look like those YouTube glitches, like someone just like like squished the real cartoon.
It looks like they are run underneath various levels of swamp water.
And then it looks like instead of actually animating the characters, someone just took the animation frame and moved it with their hands. so the characters are bouncing around.
Let's move on to Cubert, which is maybe
Cubert.
the best of the bad. And I only say that because
I agree.
When you're a little kid, and they would do this all the time in the 80s and 90s, they still do it now, especially when it's a live action movie, which is whenever you have something that is one property, like a video game, and you hear they're going to turn it into a TV show or a movie, you want to see the character in the world of the game. You don't want to see them in the real world. And they're always putting them in the real world. I'm in the real world. I don't care what the Smurfs would do if they met a dentist. I want to see them in like a mushroom village. Yeah. So Cubert takes place in a realm where everything is a cube. Everything has edges and it's square. But
is it Cubeberg? Is it Cubeberg?
I think it is Cubeberg.
Something like that.
But it's also the 50s.
Yeah.
It's also North American the 50s because Cubert, who's normally, I guess, nude, is wearing a Letterman's jacket. And Coily, the evil snake, has one of those Nazi SS officer style outfits that motorcycle gang leaders would wear.
They're dressed like leather daddies.
Yes, they're all dressed like S&M daddies in the evil gang.
So okay, so let me this is
Ask
I feel
me
like
anything.
This is
AMA.
I feel like this was a time when everyone was obsessed with the 50s, like because like all the people making TV shows were in high school in the 50s. So like every
100%.
kid's thing, like you know, like even Back to the Future, what was about the 50s, not the 80s. So like everything is the 50s. So I don't know why. I guess maybe they just don't have a reference point for what high school's like in the 80s or something. I don't know.
I mean, if the 50s were so hot in the 80s, but I mean, is it any different than now? All the new children's properties are rebooted from the 80s and 90s? Because that's how you get the parents to buy it for the kids. Oh, My Little Pony, I remember that. Here you go.
Yeah, but I feel like they're rebooted, but they're not rebooted back into the 80s. I mean, some are, but that's special. I just mean like if you make a show that's a reboot of the, you know, My Little Pony, whatever, they're not like still set in the 80s. They're set in a new technology-driven world.
That's true. But 80s and 90s stuff is still popular with kids.
Like they redid Zapped for Disney, and it starred Zendaya.
They redid Zapped?
Yes, and it stars Zendaya, and she gets her powers Zendaya? From a phone. Zendaya, I thought it's Zendaya only because she mentioned something. Yeah, so she gets her power from a phone in this version of it, and it's in the current day. You know,
does she sleep with her teacher the way that they do in Zapped?
She makes his pants fall down.
Oh,
no!
Do you see his whole hog?
No. No, I don't remember all the stuff. My daughter watched it a bunch. Okay. I had to watch it again, but yeah. And so, okay, can we also say that these aliens all swear?
Well, sure. I mean, Cubert is always cursing in the video game, and he keeps it up here. If he gets really mad, a speech balloon that comes out, and he swears uncontrollably.
And he just goes, you know, I guess swearing in the 50s in Cubert is just like that's the sound of it.
Can I say the name? Cubert has a lot of friends. There's another theme of these shows is that there are too many characters. Here's all of Cubert's friends that we meet all of at once. There's Cubert, QT, Cubit, Q-ball, Q-val, and Q-mungus.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
What does Q-val mean?
What did they look like?
I mean, all the other ones is a pun. Cumungus is
Right.
humongous. Cue ball, Cubit,
Q-val.
Q-val. I don't know what that's supposed to be.
Q-val.
Or did they just
Is it
like
VA?
VAL? Q-val.
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 Q-val. Q-val. Q-val. I don't know. I just but do you remember what that character looks like?
It looks like
Is it one of
Cubert,
the
but a
little-
different color.
Okay, because there were some that were like little ghosty kind of characters,
The-
like with little flames.
Are you talking about Is? The little green guys?
Yeah, there were some bad ones,
that's
but there were also
isn't-
some good ones.
Yeah, the good ones, that's Is and Ed.
Okay. Q-val. I got nothing.
All right, well, send us an email, somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then before we're finally released from the doors of the Supercade,
Oh my god.
we
this
meet
one.
the bottom of the barrel, and that's Frogger.
The bottom of the swamp. Okay, can we okay, so everyone knows when you think of Frogger, the storyline is a frog. I mean, I think on the cover he is wearing a tie of the video game, right?
That's right. There's like
So-
a cover where he's in the swamp, and there's another cover where he has a little briefcase and a tie as though he's a frog
Yeah.
businessman getting across the
Yeah,
road.
so he is trying to get to work, right?
Yes.
But
Here's what
They
we know
made
about
it-
Frogger.
yeah, okay. But in this, they make him a journalist.
A turtleneck
Which
wearing
is-
journalist.
It's just such a crazy premise.
He is a reporter along with a turtle and a toad. Fanny,
And they're horrible.
Fanny and Shell Shock. Every female, with the exception of the Cubert universe, every female in these cartoons, there is one, maybe two, but mostly just one female character who is a curvaceous dress-wearing woman with a sultry voice.
Yeah. I just wrote, they didn't have to give the girl frog a sexy haircut. She could have just been the frog and had like long eyelashes.
Now, their editor is played, their editor, of course, Tex Toad Walker.
There we go. Yep.
He is voiced by Ted Field Sr. And Ted
Okay.
Field Sr., this is the only acting role he has ever had. Ted Field
Okay.
Sr., before this show, he was a sponsor and a financier for Formula stock car racing. And his company was called Interscope, which he then expanded to Interscope Entertainment. And then he founded Interscope Records.
Yes.
And for some reason, the only acting he ever did was this cartoon playing the editor Toad.
Wow.
And then, he
Wow.
went to sign 9 Inch Nails.
So the music in this show, okay, theme song is atrocious. Okay, it's like some like
I don't remember it.
It's like got Frogger going again, a band. It's like some like really bad Randy Newman impression kind of thing.
Okay.
But the music beds, like the score of the show itself, is like my favorite. Right, where it is like every time the scene changes, every time they change angle on the camera, the type of music it changes to a completely different genre of music. So it'll be like, like boom, 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 boom.
It's
Like,
interesting that you said that this was your favorite, because I was noticing music cues that were the same from show to show, because there's one that I'm almost positive they took from Speed Racer, because this
Okay.
company is in Japan, but at one point it goes dun 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 dun. I was like, oh, I know what that's from.
Yeah, like I was trying to think, like, I would love to see what the score looks for this, like what the music sheets look for these. It's like 1 second of 100 different songs jammed together.
Yes, I'm sure that there are extensive sheet music scores available for these.
And my question was, in this episode, of course, they are in the street and they're ducking, the cars are coming and they're jumping from car to car. Like, is this every episode? Do they do the? Is there a scene of them doing this in every episode, or is it just the first one?
There has to be, right? Because these writers, so you're some 45-year-old writer. You get a note. You have a job. Okay, I have to write a thing of this video game cartoon. Okay. What do we have to do? All right, gets run over by cars. That's it. At some point, he has to get run over by a car. Donkey Kong. At some point, they have to throw a barrel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now, this is maybe my favorite part of. So after they go through Frogger, we land back at the club at Scott's place, and the best part of the special happens, which is Scott Baio sings a song from one of his albums. I'm assuming. First, I didn't know if it was him or not, or if he was just playing a character, but knowing that he has albums, of course it's him. And he's very proud of this bop.
Well, Nathan, of course he comes out and he sings the song Some Girls from his second album, The Boys Are Out Tonight.
Oh my God, I have to get these albums.
And at least this song was written and produced by the team who did like Blondie's albums and the Knacks classic albums.
This is perfect.
I knew you would like this horrible song. It sounds like it's coming from behind 8 walls. It sounds like it's coming from a million miles away. They have to run Scott Baio through so many filters to make it sound like he can sing.
And it makes sense that I love it because you're saying that they got some good people to produce this music.
At least this song, yeah. I wonder how many bops there are versus ballads on Scott Baio's albums.
Oh no, that's
always the downer when you buy these celebrity albums, is you realize how many long, soulful numbers there are, and you want them all just to be diddly scoots.
Yeah, you want them all to be my girl wants to
Some Girls.
No, I was going to say what's the Eddie Murphy
Party All the Time?
Yeah, you want them to be Party All the Time.
Not Was Up With You?
No, I actually want them all to be Was Up With You too. Yeah, I do love Was Up With You, and I will listen to that tonight while I'm working out.
You know what? I'm sorry to drag us back into the Supercade, but Supercade ran for 2 seasons. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay,
did you read this already? Do you know this? Because I want to ask you a question about it.
Okay, so I know what the other show is that was added.
Well, there's 2.
Okay. So here's Space Ace is one of them.
Space Ace is one. Mm-hmm. So they dropped Donkey Kong Jr., they dropped Frogger, they dropped Pitfall.
Good.
So they kept Donkey Kong and Cubert. So they added.
I think that's good.
Space Ace, which is I couldn't believe that video game. Which, if you haven't seen it, it is one of those Don Bluth animated Laserdisc video games. It is. Mm-hmm. It is like, what's the name of the Golden Sword? Not Golden Sword.
That one is there's Space Ace and is it Dungeon something? Or
I cannot believe I just blanked on the name. But it is those beautifully animated video games that are just quarter eaters. Like there's a yellow flash that blinks and you have to slam the joystick in the direction of what's happening. But they're really well animated by Don Bluth, who did like American Tail. And they made a cartoon out of one of those, which is called Space Ace, but they made it look really bad. Yeah. Well, it's obvious the budget for the game was very different. A little lower.
So Dragon's Lair is the other one, and there
Lair, yes.
There's also a cartoon for that one, I think.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that was on Supercade or not.
It wasn't. Can you think of what the other video game would you maybe turn into a cartoon? And I'm going to say I would have never guessed this in a billion years.
Is it Leisure Suit Larry?
It was not. Do you know the game Kangaroo?
That's right, Kangaroo.
I had never heard of Kangaroo before.
Oh, I remember playing it at the Big Wheel in Brunswick, Ohio.
Okay. Jeremy, have you ever heard of the video game
Big Bear, Big Bear.
Kangaroo from the 80s?
No, I have not.
Yeah, this is an obscure pick.
I loved it.
Okay.
Loved it.
And
I loved it because it was a strange game.
Very Japanese.
Yeah, just I mean, all of those games are strange because there's no story to them. It's just you show up and then there's a giant ape throwing barrels. You know, so this one's just a kangaroo jumping through vines and stuff and punching stuff. I think.
Yes, trying to get to her Joey. And I will say,
right.
Super K Kangaroo struck a blow for women's rights because kangaroo is female.
Well.
All right, sorry, we
Yeah.
leave the Supercade now. That's behind us. We are back in the club. And the next cartoon we'll find out about is Charlie Brown and Snoopy. And Nathan, I have to admit something. I didn't even bother watching it.
Oh no!
I know what Charlie Brown looks like. I know what the tone of the cartoon is.
Listen.
It's the newspaper strips drawn out endlessly with child actors reading the lines very slowly.
Okay, so the specials, right? There's a story that's happening for the 20 minutes that they're on, right? This is laughing. Like it's like you said, it literally is. It's like it's a sketch show, and the aesthetic of the show is the best part about it, which is the music, the jazzy music, and then the kids, the charming kids doing the voices. The sketches suck. Nothing's funny in it. But you missed out on a great line in the show. There is a line where, and it applies today so much, especially with, I was watching the school board meeting for mask mandates.
Did Charlie Brown say
night.
that woke culture was out of control?
in my Florida district. And the quote from the show is, "In all this world, there is nothing more frightening than a getting together of all the parents."
It's pretty good.
It just nails it. It just nails it.
Which, in kind, they responded with, wah, wah, wah.
That's what it sounded like at the school board meeting, too, by the way. So there is a theme song for this, and it's like, "Come and gather around and call it with a Snoopy Charlie Brown." Like, what was that? What was that?
It's like
singer?
Dr. John.
No, what's the singer? Carol.
Carol King?
Like
but a man?
in those. What's that?
But a man.
No, it was a woman. It's a woman who sings it. Like in the show, you don't hear, there are no lyrics. It's just instrumental. But they actually released a lyric version of it for the Flash Beagle, which is a jazzercise album for kids. Yeah.
And it was a special called It's Flash Beagle Charlie Brown.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is impossible to get through. Unless your Snoopy tolerance is through the roof.
And I love the song. I love this little song. I love that feeling of, it's the kind of music that you would hear on Sesame Street in the 70s. Yeah. But okay, enough about this show. We have to talk about the next show.
Whoa, you don't want to talk about what's happening in Scott's place more?
No,
we don't have to.
Deep, deep, deep,
yes,
deep,
that's all that happens. We do cut back every time to Scott Baio talking to the Hazard boys. Is like, oh, go, go, oh, no, no, no.
Guys, hey, guys, I gotta talk about Supercade.
Hey, come on.
I don't know. I've been trying to do a Scott Baio voice, and I can't. And it's just, you're right. It is. It's just very faint. Like, hey, oh, hey, what's that? Hey, what's up? Hey, man. Hey, man. Hey, baby. It is that. All right. So let's
get into the next show. And it is unequivocally the high. I wish we could end with this show. But this is a show I'd never heard of before. I'm so glad I've heard of it now. It is called Benji, Zax, and the Prince of Space.
No. Benji, Zax, and the Alien Prince.
Oh, okay. I think it also may be written down slightly inaccurately on places online.
Okay. Do you remember how we said earlier how the pilot episode is the theme song?
Mm-hmm.
In this, the pilot episode is the title of the show. There's no story of what is going on. It is just boom.
Well,
Benji, Zax, and the Prince.
Yeah, because during the 10-second introduction, we see the lovable Benji running along in the fields. A spaceship lands. A robot gets out. A child dressed as a space person gets out. And by dressed as a space person, I mean they have silver pajamas on. They meet Benji. We cut to an alien throne room, and a evil space king says, "I have put everybody who opposes me in prison, except for one person, Prince Yubi. Go find them." And then we cut to two adults dressed kind of like the leather-clad villains from Superman 2, but also kind of like punks. And then you see them running around trying to find the prince, and Benji helps the prince. That is all done in 10 seconds in this wordless introduction.
Yes. And Zax is like a robot. That is a very specific feeling of a British show. Like I've watched a few British 70s kids shows. This is like Doctor Who. This is like all of these shows kind of like all
or
in an American setting.
It has a Canadian feel to it, I would say.
Yeah. So sideline British.
Sure. And Zax the robot, I would say he kind of his head kind of looks like if E.T. was a robot mixed with the stuffiness of C-3PO, but he also kind of looks like the robot from the black hole.
Yeah, and he floats.
And he floats.
But he can't fly, which I don't get. Like he floats everywhere, but he can't fly to get away from someone.
He can't fly too high. Just a little bit. This is I don't need to even say this is a live action series. This is the only live action series.
You know what this feels like?
A fever dream?
One of those what's that?
A fever dream?
It feels like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon where it would be like, hey, it's a monkey. It's a cartoon based on the monkeys, and they hang out with mermen. You know, like, do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
you're talking about like when there was a Happy Days cartoon, but they had a spaceship. That was the concept. Or Laverne and Shirley in the army. That was the cartoon.
Yeah, like they would have a cartoon about a famous thing, a famous group, but they would completely pull them out of the world that they're normally in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So this feels like Benji just in a weird alien story.
Right, because even though Benji is on Earth, like space people never appeared in any of the Benji movies. It was just about a dog trying to like survive. Now, I will say, if I had been a little kid watching this, I would have loved this show. This is the kind of like gentle nonsense that I feel like kids can really ingest, and it's so simple. Like, even though that beginning storyline is heavy lifting, if you kind of know that, you're just watching a dog walk around and, the bad guys are here. Better run away, Benji. You know what I mean? It's the kind of thing that's so simple that it mystifies adults of why children like it. But children need something simple. They can't take Frogger's a reporter and there's people dressed up as something else. Like, it's too much for a kid.
This, for me, I probably would have... I feel like this would have come on in the later hours of the Saturday morning, and I would have been like, okay, it's time to go play.
I disagree with that because you watched plenty of live action stuff on Nickelodeon that exactly was this level. Don't
you dare compare this to Saved by the Bell.
No.
Or...
Okay. As much happens in this as like weird daytime programming on Nickelodeon when they would show British cartoons.
Yeah, but I didn't
or
like that
David
stuff
the
when I was
Gnome.
whenever there was a cartoon, I think that whenever live action stuff would happen, I wasn't as interested until I got older.
Okay.
I don't, and that's weird to me now because I am obviously I'm an adult, but like when I think about children's programming I watch with my kid, I like probably the live action stuff better than the cartoon stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all bad.
Now, one reason that I think that this feels so odd and like non-American production is because this was written and directed by Joe Camp, who is the guy who came up with Benji. He wrote and directed all the Benji movies. And Benji was all shot in his small town in Texas that he lives in. So this is just seeing early
in
80s.
His backyard.
Yeah, like you're in his backyard. You're in the dirty, derelict, small town. I mean, I did love seeing just this dumpy town that they were filming in.
It looks like whenever anyone thinks about like, oh man, I wish I could go back and live in the small towns of like the 50s and stuff where everyone just knew each other, like, and then you go to a small town like today, and this is what it looks like. It looks like all of your dreams have just been shattered.
Yeah, watch this show and see how much you wish you could live in the 80s.
Yeah. Because this is what it really was like in a small town where all the stores are shut down. There's no like, that's such a myth that kind of old timey.
Yeah,
of course.
Of course. And I looked up the bad guys, Xanu and Dara. The woman who plays Dara is the woman who plays Mrs. RoboCop in the RoboCop movies.
Okay, hold on.
RoboCop's wife.
I missed your voice changed. What did you say? There was like an audio artifact. What did you say?
I said the two main bad guys, Xanu and Dara, who chase after Benji. The woman who plays Dara also plays Mrs. RoboCop in the RoboCop movies. Okay.
I missed that. I heard the RoboCop, not the Mrs. So his wife?
Yes, the wife that you see the memories of.
Okay, cool. Well, good for her. Mm-hmm. She's really branched out.
Mm-hmm. Joe Camp, by the way, still alive.
That's a shame.
He's.
I'm just kidding. Sorry, Joe.
Sorry, Joe.
Just trying to make a funny show. Come on.
Hey, who else are we meeting? I'm going to send you something. You have your phone on you before we leave the world of Benji, Zax. Mm-hmm. I'm going to send this to you. First of all, I was wondering, I wonder whatever happened to Zax the robot. And I'm sending you something from the Benji, Zax, and Alien Prince Facebook page.
Great.
And it is of this gentleman who searched out and bought the original Zax puppet.
Wow.
And his happy story. And then this next picture I'm showing you is the guy who played Prince Yubi today. And it looks like somebody is annoying him when he's on his phone. Can we post that? Can we post that in...
Yeah, I'll put that on the show notes.
Yeah,
in the show notes.
Please do.
Oh, thank you for sending those. Really brightened up my day.
Sure.
All right, now next show. Now this is my kind of show.
Okay.
Dungeons and Dragons. Another show where the pilot is the theme song. Although, and I will post these as well in the show notes. By the way, I may forget to do all of this, but just know that that's my intention.
No, you won't.
The theme song for the American version is no lyrics, right?
No.
It is just, you hear the music and you see the kids. These kids who are at a theme park on a roller coaster and they somehow get flown into a fantastical world and they turn into different characters from the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game.
Yeah. They get on a ride that says, they say, oh, look, a Dungeons and Dragons ride.
Yeah.
And they're going through a gate that says Dungeons and Dragons.
By the way, I've been on some rides like this at the fairgrounds.
Did this happen to you?
Thankfully, no, but I was afraid for my life.
I will say this is a show that has maybe too many characters because they have to represent a lot of the stuff that you can play in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Because there's
And
Hank, the Ranger, Eric, the Cavalier, Diana, the Acrobat, Presto, the Magician, Sheila, the Thief, and Bobby, the Barbarian, and Uni, the Unicorn.
And also a little old man.
Who, yes.
And a villain and two villains who fight each other. So now if you lived in America and watched the show, that's what you got was that opening. But if you lived in France or Spain, maybe Mexico,
Spain.
I don't know. You had an entirely different theme song that was amazing. And maybe Jeremy, our good friend, will clip some of these in if he thinks of it. But yes, otherwise I will post them on the thing. Lots of stuff, tons of fans on the internet for this show. Tons of fans. Right?
I mean, yes, whenever this came up, I was like, oh, I bet you this has a very fervent fan base of Dungeons and Dragons kids. Yeah. This was
Marvel.
And this was a big hit. This is the one that actually like really hit for CBS. This went on for 3 seasons, and we should say that the Ranger is played by Willie Ames from Zapped.
Yes. Yep. Guys everywhere.
The Cavalier is
Bible
played
Man.
by Donnie Most from Happy Days.
Yep.
I guess Presto is played by a little kid from 8 is Enough. And Uni, of course, is played by Frank Welker.
Frank Welker.
Who does everything.
Well, now, why isn't this part of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
D&D? Maybe it will whenever the new movie with Chris Pine comes out. Chris Pine and I forget who else.
This was, I enjoyed it. I mean, look, the show's not riveting, but I like fantasy kind of stuff. I liked Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't play it as a kid because I thought it made you go to hell, I think probably. I was wondering about this. Why wasn't this show just like banned by parents?
It's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like,
interesting that you say that because, the National Coalition of Television Violence, which was a real group, they wanted the FTC to issue a warning before in each episode that Dungeons and Dragons had been linked to hundreds of real-life deaths.
That's right. That is right.
Which is a hell of a good thing to say and very unprovable.
I wonder how many... I feel like entertainment groups and companies are quick to respond to this kind of stuff, but it seems like they held strong on keeping this on air.
Well, it's amazing how much making money on something can really make you dig your heels in.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I didn't hate it. I liked it. And if you watch the whole show, all 3 seasons, right? And you were sad that there wasn't a proper ending to the show, well, we've got great news. Some fans took it upon themselves to create their own last final episode. They took clips from the show and also animated some stuff themselves and made a final episode you can watch on YouTube. And I'll link that as well.
And I just sent you a picture of something I noticed, but I haven't seen it referenced anywhere online. I'm sure it has been, but I couldn't find anything. I was looking at pictures of the people in line for the ride at the beginning of the show, and you see how there's a bunch of children, and then over their shoulders there's a guy who looks like he's a backup bassist for Frank Zappa. You see him?
Yeah, it's Daffy Dan in the back.
That is a cartoon of Gary Gygax, creator of Dungeons and Dragons. And you see it for a split second. I was like, when I saw it, I was like, I bet that's supposed to be Gygax. And I looked up his picture, and that's definitely him.
So he's back there just I don't know, fiddling kids or something. What's going on back there? That's crazy.
Speaking of fiddling, let's go to the next show. And who is it? Why, it's the Biscuits.
Yes.
The Biscuits.
The Biscuits.
I guess the non-hit The Biscuits, about tiny, tiny little clothes-wearing dogs who live in Renaissance times and are tasked with polishing the treasure of the kingdom and keeping it from a bad king. And it's like the Smurfs, basically, but dogs.
I forgot all about this show, but when I saw the dogs dressed for the Renaissance Fair, I remembered it immediately.
This is another show with too many characters. Here are all the characters in the Biscuits who are all together all the time. Wags, Sweets, Shiner, Lady, Bump, Downer, Wiggle, Spinner, Scat, and Mooch.
Love it. Okay, one thing I want to say about all of these shows, most of these shows, is that they all have little mini episodes, right? These are all mini episodes. Like all of the Saturday Super Kids are like 10, 15 minutes or whatever.
Oh, like it would be a half hour and you would get two different stories.
Yeah, and
Yes.
on the Biscuits, it's a half-hour show with two stories, and each story would have a little title at the beginning, and it would be this little card, a drawing of the characters, and then the title of the show. And can I say the best animation, the best like artwork of the entire shows are always in that animated card at the beginning?
Oh, of course. It's whatever artist probably did all the concept drawings. It's their drawing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. Those are great, and I just love. I feel like someone should make a website just posting these. Tumblr.
I was really surprised that the Biscuits wasn't a hit because these are just like cute little dog characters that seem like they would make a bazillion toys of them, but there's no toy line for it. Most of these cartoons, there's no toy line. It's amazing how they held themselves back then.
Nothing happens in these shows. Nothing. Like there's an idea where it's like, the Biscuits are skiing in this episode.
Yeah, but nothing happens in the Snorks, and there was tons of Snorks merchandise.
I'm just saying, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's like half of each episode is the dogs bouncing around.
Nothing happens in Pokemon. I mean, I guess that's based on a game.
There's a
you
through
can
line
play
through the whole thing. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I'm not a Pokemon expert, but there is a storyline that continues throughout the whole thing. This is just, hey, what are we gonna do? What are the Biscuits gonna do this week? Oh, they're gonna, they're getting a new treasure chest. Okay,
sure.
And then the treasure chest appears, and the king's like, "I want the treasure."
I guess giant merchandising lines have been launched with less than the Biscuits provide. Okay. The Care Bears don't do anything much more gripping than the Biscuits do.
Well, we do know though that there is a nice online fan base because you sent me a picture that I will post as well.
Yeah, the Biscuits, this obscure Hanna-Barbera cartoon that was on for barely one season. It doesn't matter how obscure it is, you can always find somebody's hand-drawn bondage porn of these cartoon characters from the most casual of image searches on Google. So if you want to see a Bump tied up in a dungeon... It's always more disturbing to me when they're not naked or sexualized. You know what I mean? When they're like, all I need is the gag in the mouth and the rope on the hands, and I'm good to go, baby.
Well, I haven't.
I've
too
dug
deep into this world,
deep, Nathan.
So I don't have a preference like you.
I've dug real deep. The only other thing I have to say about the Biscuits is Shecky, the court jester on the Biscuits, is voiced by Kip King, who is Chris Kattan's dad. And when you know that, it sounds exactly like Chris Kattan. Well, I thought Mango was in this thing.
Oh, Mango. Can we say that if your name is Kip, you will become a vaudeville comedian?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
No, that's just
your
a straight
name
line.
May as well be like Lumpy Baskets or something like that. Well, don't worry, everyone. We're to the last preview of this show. And hey, why are we in Hazard County? Why have we seen Coletrane and Boss Hogg this whole time? Why haven't we just been seeing Scott Baio's vacant, cokey stare this whole time? Well, it's because the big crown jewel of this whole preview is for the Dukes of Hazzard cartoon.
Why did we need this? Why isn't the show already a family show?
By this point, yes, definitely.
Why do we need a cartoon version? Are there stories that they
Never
were not
enough
allowed to
money.
explore on the
Never
live
enough
action?
money. Well, because of course in the Dukes, it's about the Dukes going on a giant race around the world. So the Dukes can be in
that's
every
right.
continent. They're exploring
Gosh.
Australia in this first episode.
So this is what I'm saying before is making a cartoon of some famous thing that's already a thing. Usually these cartoons are based on adult themed things, but but in this, then they're in some weird outlandish thing. I guess that's why they can do a cartoon about it. Now they can put them in some weird stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that is the classic 70s, 80s way to do it. It'd be like if you had a RoboCop cartoon, but it was about RoboCop starting a party catering business on the moon.
Now, can we talk about the character designs? Oh my gosh. These are like fan art. Right?
Yeah.
This is just, there is barely a line being drawn around their face. Like, this is just like someone dropped paint on a animation cell and someone was like, that kind of looks like the Duke Boys. We should do a cartoon about that.
What's so funny about this is, okay, so they had animated this whole cartoon, had it ready to go. This, I knew nothing about this. I learned all about this recently. This was whenever season 5 of The Dukes of Hazzard was hitting. And the actors who played Luke and Bo Duke were upset because they weren't getting really any share of merchandising sales, and the station would not budge. So the two actors walked off set.
Whoa.
And the network said, fine, we'll just replace you. And they got two guys to play Coy and Vance Duke, which are supposed to be the Duke boys' cousins, but one is blonde and one is brown-haired, and they kind of look like the other actors. So in the cartoon, they are animated as Luke and Bo, but they got the two replacement actors to do the voices.
Wow.
And everyone calls them Coy and Vance. Then the next season, in season 2, the actors who played Luke and Bo came back and did the voices. But this is the one season where there was two different guys playing the Duke brothers.
Interesting. Now, straight away, show starts.
What an intro.
It is a Confederate flag straight away. Thankfully, it gets ripped in half.
By a car that has the Confederate flag on the top of it.
Yeah. So, I guess it just... Anyways, yeah. And the title card for this, by the way, I loved the title cards for this.
Oh, yeah?
It looks like an 80s kids wallpaper, just like the hatch or whatever, I don't know, the checkerboard kind of thing. But yeah, the characters suck. This sucks. Although what I was saying is the cops in this, these are kind of like what the cops are like in my county here in Florida. They are probably as bumbling.
So in Florida, there is a guy in a white suit who owns the county store, and he drives around with the cops.
His name is Wayne Ivey, and he stands behind Trump in a lot of his legislation law signings. Sad.
This special really just kind of halts to an end, doesn't it? Because we go back to the club and they go, I guess there's nothing going on here, but all we want to do is dance. And then Rosco takes off his cowboy hat. And am I wrong? Does he put a woman's thong on his head? and starts dancing around.
I can't tell. It is definitely like it's supposed to be like a headband, like Dirty Dancing style kind of headband thing, you know, or whatever, a dance movie. But it is weird because it does have a piece that connects from the front to the back that goes over, so it does look like a thong.
Yes, I mean I've never seen a bandana that has a third bandana tied between the two, like tied between the loop.
It's like a sumo's diaper.
Yes, right. So I don't quite know what it was supposed to be.
By the way, we forgot to mention that at some point the sheriff tries to steal 50% of the club's profits by scamming Scott Baio. But Scott Baio cannot be easily scammed. Instead, he just agrees to this thing with no like. He's like, "Oh, I don't care what this deal is. I agree. You can have 50% of the profits."
Well, isn't the reveal that the club is free for everyone?
Oh, is that the reveal?
I think it is.
Oh gosh, this is what I'm talking about. If you blink,
yes, it is one line.
Yeah. Well, what did you think in all? If you could choose any of these cartoons to live on for multiple seasons, which one would it have been?
As is, like it's just going to keep going.
Yep.
Do you have?
Are
an
you
answer
going
for
Benji?
This?
Are you going Benji?
I'm looking over the list and I'm trying to think of what I could live with. The only two I can picture like having any shelf life would be Benji or Dungeons and Dragons.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see for the. Well, I want to see both those things. I want to see the kids get back to their own time in Dungeons and Dragons, and I want to see Prince Yubi square off against that evil space dictator.
Yeah. I agree. I think those are the top two shows. I think if the Charlie Brown show wouldn't have been a sketch show and instead of would have been like a collection of like Thanksgiving specials, you know, like just 30-minute, 20-minute specials. I think that would have been better than the sketches, but I don't know. It still would have been a slog.
And here's the other question: which is worse, the Dukes or Frogger?
I'm saying Frogger. Except that Frogger's only 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever.
I'm actually going to say the Dukes was probably more painful for me to get through.
Yeah. Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode and tune in next week. Oh, by the way, we should always say, and we always forget, please like and subscribe. Go to YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can find all the links on our website at networkspecialpodcast.com. Go to our YouTube page, subscribe, hit the little bell. You can get a notification if you like to stream things. Go to iTunes, like our podcast and leave a review. Subscribe to it. Go to Spotify. Go to wherever you go. Go to Twitter. Join our Twitter. We have an Instagram. We have a TikTok. TikTok seems to be our biggest draw, but please, we love you and we want to see more of you.
And I just wanted to say, I don't know why you guys are so down on Frogger, because if there's one thing I love, it's little green things. Thanks, Stoney. And thank you all for listening to us once again. Thank you to producer Jeremy and the Golden Ox Network. It's always great to be a part of the Ox. Moo Moo. We'll see you all next week. Bye.